So a little while back I brought out a video looking at my top 5 dungeons to farm for making gold by yourself as a warrior, and at the time I said two things. Firstly, that I believed warriors to be the worst class for making gold in classic WoW, and that warrior was the only class I had access to at max level. Since that video came out, neither of those things is true anymore. I have since gained access to a priest at level 60 just the other day, and I have also decided that warrior is definitely not the worst class for making gold on. But I digress. So what I have decided to do is bring out a second video in that series looking today at my top 5 dungeons that I want to show for making gold for a priest. Now, this is going to have the same format as the warrior video in that I have made these selections from my own opinions and my own thoughts and feelings on my experiences in these dungeons. It is somewhat grounded in logic in that I am looking at the amount of gold that you can make and the difficulty and things of that nature, but ultimately it's quite hard to quantify a lot of these things, so your experiences may well differ to mine. The only other point that I wanted to make on this is that I wanted to pick farms that would be completable by any priest spec, and ideally by any amount of gear level that a priest may well have. So for that purpose, all of the footage you're going to see is going to be from my freshly dinged 60 priest that is practically in the worst gear that you can possibly get, and is also fully spec'd for healing, which of course is suboptimal for the vast majority of gold farms. But that's enough for that, and let's dive straight into it. So in at the number 5 spot we have Ragefire Chasm. Now Ragefire Chasm is going to be the dungeon on this list that you're going to be able to do the easiest, because all you're going to be doing is walking through the mobs, getting a nice grouping of them going, and then AoEing them all down with your rank 1 Holy Nova. Between how little damage they do and the amount of healing you'll get from your Holy Nova, you shouldn't really be at risk of dying. You're not going to be able to do this as efficiently as a mage, however, and it is going to be that bit slower. Now, the reason that this comes 5th on the list is going to be twofold. First of all, the amount of gold that you're going to be able to make if all you're doing is selling the items from here is going to be feeble at best, and you'll be better off in the open world just slowly killing quest mobs by yourself. However, it does make the list because of the fact that if you are able to get people to boost, you can charge in and around the 1 gold per character mark, so you could make 4 gold a run in principle, and it doesn't take that long, nor is it particularly difficult to do. The second caveat as to why this is so low down on the list is, of course, it is going to be horde only. The only real reason that Ragefire Chasm makes it onto this list is because of the fact that there is still a market for the boosts through Ragefire Chasm for these low levels to get out of the way for people, and also because of the fact that there are so few dungeons that are viable for doing priest farms that any dungeon that you can reasonably do in any kind of efficient manner is going to make this list. Now, in at number 4, and in a similar vein of thinking, is Dead Mines. Now, Dead Mines is going to be much the same as you did with Ragefire Chasm, except that there is also going to be the potential of boosting characters who want items for twinking, as well as the fact that the mobs in here are still low enough that you can AoE them, although you may want to consider using Shadow Word Pain on the elites and just kiting them around, but it's still going to be quite easy. The second factor as to why this is on the list and why it edges out Ragefire Chasm is that, of course, it is not faction specific, which is just about enough to give it that slight edge over Ragefire Chasm. On top of this, it does have the low potential of getting some modest gold value items that you are able to sell on the auction house that do sell reasonably well, most notably the BOE parts of the Defias Brotherhood set. Now in at number 3 we have Dire Maul North First Boss Farming. Now I do have a video that I will link in the card up at the top of the screen for you now on how to perform this farm and the details of it, but what's great for this farm in my opinion is the fact that you are able to do this from the moment that you get your level 60, and it's not that difficult to do. It can also return a decent amount of gold in that there are many high level items that can potentially drop here, and it does always have some consistent gold coming from the boss that you are able to kill that is obviously from a high level dungeon, meaning the loot will vendor or disenchant ideally for a higher value than what you will be getting from trash mobs in the aforementioned 2 dungeons. Now, the slight negative to this is that while it is not at all gear dependent, it is certainly going to go faster if you have better gear and or are shadow spec'd, but you can do this on any spec with any gear level. A bigger concern, however, is that the consistent gold is a bit lower than what you would potentially get from your good runs. Now, the grey items that you get from the packs of trash mobs and from the hyenas do sell for quite a bit, so there is some decent consistency in the consistent gold, but it's quite low. And you are going to be hoping for those big drops a lot of the time, and or getting a good piece of loot from the boss that you're able to vendor or disenchant and get good value out of, which isn't going to be the case every time. Now, I ummed and ahed about 2nd and 1st place for a long time here, but for 2nd place I am putting in Scarlet Monastery Cathedral. Now, we all know from my previous videos that I'm a big fan of Scarlet Monastery Cathedral when it comes to gold making, and I was very tempted to put this at the number 1 spot. And if we were looking at factors in weighting on how important they are, i.e. if you are looking for a farm that is simple and easy, then this farm is going to be better for you than the one that I'm placing at number 1. Or maybe even if you're looking for consistency in your gold making, it is going to be number 1. However, it doesn't quite get up to the high potential gold earnings per hour that you could get from my number 1 farm, although it's definitely going to win for ease and consistency. Now, as a priest, you've got lots of options about how you take on this farm. You can shadow word pain the mobs and kite them around. You can take them and use the ledge that has the reset spot, so you can have them running back and forth as you do kill them with your shadow word pains. You can mind control the mobs and use them to kill each other. There are a lot of different ways that you can do this, and which one you use is entirely up to your personal preference and or gear level that you find makes it quicker and easier for you. This is definitely a good beginning point that I would go for if you're going to be making gold with any class, but certainly with priests, and as a result it has got my number 2 spot. Now, in at number 1, although it is with somewhat of an asterisk next to it because there are lots of reasons why you might not want to consider this your number 1, but number 1 for me is going to be Blackrock Depths. Now, Blackrock Depths solo as a level 60 priest has got some difficulties to it, as well as also having some factors that make it stand out as an excellent gold farm. So if we have a look at the pros first, what we've got is we've got a farm that you can offer services for, i.e. you can do Angerforge and arena runs by yourself. So if you can find somebody who's willing to pay you to boost them to Hand of Justice, then you can do that and you will make a fortune. Similarly, if there's anyone who wants Savage Gladiator Chain or anything like that from the arena, then you can kill that too, and you will make a fortune. However, if you are looking for an easy farm, a farm that is not gear dependent, or a farm that you do not have to be shadow spec for, then this might not be the one for you. While I was able to do everything that I have mentioned so far in lousy gear on my priest that is healing spec, it was not quick, it was not efficient, I died many times, and most of the footage I got is frustrating to look at just to begin with, never mind actually going to be good for making gold when you count in my repair bill. However, if I was getting paid substantial amounts to boost people, then of course this would make this a lot more bearable. If you're not, however, the consistent gold that you're going to be able to get here is going to come from rune cloth and from just simply the greens and the cash drops that the trash mobs give you. The boss drops that you can get, if it's not something that people want to pay you for, generally don't have that high of a value. It's obviously worth picking them up and maybe selling them. I don't think there's any that are worth disenchanting, at least not on my service prices, but you do want to pick them up, you do want to vendor them, but it's not really going to be that big of a factor compared to what you're going to get from the trash mobs. Now, as I've said already, this is not the easiest farm. You are going to have to perfect your jumps onto the ledges that can take mobs and have them run around in circles so they don't kill you. You are going to have to get the hang of where to run past certain packs and where your reset spots are and things of that nature. But once you have got the hang of it, and if you have the right spec or the decent gear, it does become a lot more bearable, although I imagine it's going to get a lot more bearable if you are willing to spec into Shadow, as there isn't really a massive benefit to being holy here apart from possibly the mana regen. But that's going to about do it for this video, guys. I do hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do comment down below and let me know. Or if you have any questions, please comment them as well. And as always, guys, thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next one. Later.